Hey, so today I'm going to be doing a video about wave management in the early game specifically, so kind of how to develop a plan for what you want to do with the lane in every game. This won't be so useful for low elo players because they probably have other stuff to work on that's a lot more important than this. But for high elo players, this is probably quite a useful, if boring, analysis of how you can think about the wave in the early game. I'm going to be explaining in the context of top lane, although you could apply this to any other lane, except obviously bot lane it's a bit harder because you have a support that you have to rely on to be on the same page with you, and mid lane the lane's shorter, so there's a bit less you can do with wave management, although yeah, the concepts still apply. Oopsie. So, obviously this is a not so beautiful diagram of Summoner's Rift. This is red top side and blue top side and vice versa. I'm going to be using mostly this just to explain the concepts. So first let's kind of do I'm sure this will be a little bit boring for most people, but for the people that don't know, kind of talk about the states that you can put your lane in and the variables that affect how you want to put your lane. So initially you have kind of four basic ways that the lane can be going. So the lane could be slow pushing. So let's say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minions here, and on the enemy side there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minions. So in this case, slowly but surely, if they're meeting in the middle of the lane, this is going to cause this to slowly push in. Like, you'll build up a really small minion advantage initially, and slowly the minion advantage will get way bigger until this crashes into the tower with like a pretty significant minion advantage. So this mostly doesn't happen in a reset position like I've drawn it. It mostly happens when you're, let's say that there's like an equal number of minions, but it's more towards this side. But I mean, there's plenty of videos on YouTube explaining how slow pushes start, or how to like the mechanics behind literally making these slow or fast pushes or whatever. So I would recommend solo Renekton onlys if you need to learn those concepts, but definitely know the basics of that before you watch this video. So initially, we have slow push. You have fast push, which is obviously just slamming the wave into their tower as quickly as possible. So I don't know, you're playing Renekton or something, you just walk up to his creeps, Q, Hydra, like throw the creeps in as quickly as possible. Well, not Hydra in this case because we're talking about early game, as in like literally levels 1 to 3 the first time you come into lane. And then apart from that, you have freezing. So again, there's a lot of good videos on this on YouTube already on how to freeze and stuff, but it's just effectively where you keep the lane in the same spot by managing the minions carefully. And then reset, which is the position it's going to be in when it just starts, which is around this position. You're going to have an equal number of minions and they'll meet in the middle, and if completely left alone, they'll slowly push towards one side, but in the context of this video, that isn't very important. So let's talk about the variables that go into talking about how to make a decision on what you want to do with the lane. So first off, what's important to note is not every champion is going to have complete control over what happens to the lane. For example, if you're playing, let's say, Fiora into Renekton, unless you can sort of reliably harass him down to the point that he can't really push, you're not really going to be able to push because you don't have any abilities that facilitate that. So realistically, you can throw this plan out the window and just kind of hope to God that he doesn't manage to abuse you too much until you've scaled up a little bit. So this is assuming that you have control over the wave. Obviously, you could still apply this in the sense that, let's say you're Fiora and you want to have the wave in a certain position. You can still work towards that by making sure you auto minions when they give you the opportunity to, etc. But mostly the stuff you're going to be applying from this video is going to be about when you have control over the lane early and you have the superior pushing power. So here are some of the variables that we can talk about when we're deciding what to do with the lane. So can you reliably deny XP or minions? For example, right, if you're going to freeze, there's no point freezing if you can't harass him, if you can't win trades like that, if you can't deny minions. Only if you can punish when you put it in a freeze is it advantageous freezing. Or if you want to protect against a jungler gank, although that's not always a good thing for reasons that I'll go into later. Can you set up a dive if you hard push? So let's say you're going to be abusing the hell out of them, levels 1 to 3. You could slow push that for 2 waves or something, and then hard push it in so that you have a lot of minions. let's say your jungler starts on the bottom side of the map. You're playing on this side. Let's say he starts at the bottom side of the map, and you know that the enemy jungler started red. Then by the time you've hard pushed that in, you know you're going to have a bunch of minions stacked up here, which is going to make for an easy dive. So another thing, which jungler or which side of the map did your jungler start on? You probably don't want to be slow pushing into someone if they've got a, let's say they're playing like Galio and Kha'Zix or something, you know, a lot of CC, and you're playing a squishy champ, and Kha'Zix can just roll in and one hit you pretty much. If you're playing like that, you know, you want to generally just be keeping the wave here, at least by the time he gets here. Let's say he starts red, you know, early game. It's a pretty hard call to say, I'm going to slow push and just assume that he takes a direct route bottom. Because, you know, they can easily just, like, do Krugs or some shit and just cheese you level 3. So, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be thinking about. I'll just list a few more variables and then kind of go on to the meat and bones of how you can analyze and create a plan when talking about this stuff. So, does your level 2 power spike allow an all-in? Like, maybe you want to get a small minion advantage, sort of start a slow push, so that you can get your level 2 spike and either deny them a bunch of CS level 2, like 3-4 CS, you know, early game. That's pretty big, especially if you can deny the XP. Can you surprise them with your damage level 2, you know? If you're playing against a weaker opponent who you realize just isn't paying much attention or is tilted or something like that, you can probably abuse your level 2 spike if they're not paying attention to the waves. Again, this doesn't apply so much to really high elo, because like no one's going to not realize you're about to hit level 2. Can you poke under their tower, you know, if you slow push in? Unless you can get a nice back off that actually does something early, or maybe a roam or abuse their jungler or something, you know, there's no point in slow pushing under their tower, because if you can't poke them or do anything with that, it probably would just be superior to freeze on them or something, if you're in the position that you have superiority in trades in the lane. Can they CS while expending mana, for example? If you're playing against Malphite, I like to play really heavy push champions into him, because even if I can't like necessarily out-trade him or whatever happens, if you just out-CS, out-wave clear Malphite, he's going to be stuck under tower CSing with all of his mana going to that for the first like 10 minutes of the game, which just opens you up to do everything you want on the map. Can they freeze if you slow push? You know, if their jungler's topside, or if they're just a champion that can harass you pretty well after a certain level, you know, you don't want to slow push, because that's going to put you in a dangerous spot where they could just freeze on you forever. Or if your jungler's like heading towards bot and can't help you break it, that's really dangerous for you. Are your other lanes likely to lose really hard, and do you want to try to soak up pressure early? Like if every lane's feeding, you probably don't want to freeze most of the time, because you kind of want to keep the jungler coming to your lane, or else the only situation where that doesn't apply, I guess, is where you think you can really abuse top lane hard enough that you can just solo carry. So yeah, these are the kind of things that you want to think about when you're deciding what to do with the lane. So yeah, let's just move on to a VOD analysis, and I'll kind of show you how I've got 2 VODs here, one with Huni and one with Smeb, and we can just look at how they managed to really abuse the enemy laners. Just a sec while I set up the window capture. It seems to have bugged. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we can just look over this and see how Huni basically in this game, you know, he pretty much just manages the wave to the extent that he pretty much wins the game level 1. I probably don't want my camera here. It's kind of annoying that you can't see the minimap.
30 seconds to minions spawn.
Yeah, okay, that's better. So I'll just skip ahead a little bit until Huni is actually doing something. I don't know what he's doing mid there, but okay. So as we get into the game, we can say, first off, Huni is probably aware that Kha'Zix will most likely start red, considering they have that we have Ivan, and he likes to just cheese starting blue and then smite away the enemy red as well and stuff like that. And Kha'Zix just does really well when he starts red, you know, because he doesn't require a lot of mana in the jungle, and it just gives him a nice bit of damage and gank potential. So Huni instantly starts pushing, because Fiora effectively, despite her not really being, like, Kennen doesn't necessarily push super well either, but it's just that he can constantly be autoing the minions with the threat that he's going to be able to just outtrade Fiora every single time. So he takes an unnecessary parry here, which I don't think was too favorable for him. But yeah, so he's got full lane advantage right now. He's not so scared of the Kha'Zix gank because he has such a big advantage in minions. Even if Kha'Zix comes, he's either not going to die or, like, realistically, he might even kill one of them if Kha'Zix was stupid enough to go for him with a sort of 10 CS lead. So here he mismanages it a bit. It's probably not that good to get this wave into tower. He could have pushed it a bit more slowly and maybe kept it around here, which would have given him a lot more control. But still, you know, at this point, what can Fiora really do? Every single time she goes in for a minion, there's no way for her to not just eat a shitload of poke. So he's fine taking the parry there even, because it just, like, puts the minions into the tower, means Fiora's, like, pressured to CS them. And honestly, he's just gonna, like, heal up by the time he gets anywhere close to kill range. So at this point, again, Kha'Zix is still bot side, and Hootie knows this because there's no way for him to take a feasible route where he can still be top side at this point. So let's see, Fiora CS, 6 CS. That's a disgusting lead at this point. So Fiora decides to win in here, despite being pretty behind, and she's screwed. I guess he'll, yeah, okay, he doesn't go for the flash Q. I'm not so familiar with Kennen's cooldowns, but I think he could have gone for a really aggro play there. Maybe he, yeah, okay. So he's got Fiora's B here, which is really good, because it just means he denies her another sort of 2 CS or so, and potentially sets up for Ivan. So now, they are a little bit pressured by Kha'Zix, because Kha'Zix could have B'd and be walking to top lane by this point. I don't know if they had vision on him, I wasn't really paying attention, but yeah. So now, you know, Fiora's just forced to be in this really shitty position, where she 100% dies. So as you can see, honestly, just how he managed the wave level 1 set him up so well to just be able to carry the game. I think, I can't remember exactly this game, it was a while ago that I watched it, yeah. Like, he snowballs off that super hard, he's 10-2. I presume he's TP'd bot lane and made some plays and stuff as well, so it's pretty much just, you know, in the first 5 minutes he's won the game. Just by him managing the wave really well. And again, he snowballs on Fiora that game super hard, because Fiora at no point in the lane can she really do anything. Because he'll just outtrade her the whole time. And she's going to have a level disadvantage, and a flash disadvantage, obviously. So let's move on to this vid of Smeb playing Renekton. I think that Fiora was Marin, by the way. I can't remember. I seem to remember him having a weird boxy name like that. So yeah, you know, like, even really high-level players...
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Okay, let's mute the video. You can just abuse them super hard. So bot lane just trading. Really ham, level 1, is what Korea is known for. So again, let's think about, we have Rek'Sai right here. Obviously, Renekton doesn't have a good idea of where he's going to start. He's just punishing Echo for the ward on red here. Yeah, let's look at how he goes into the lane. So by this point, he's probably relatively sure that Kennen started blue. When he comes into the lane, obviously I can't see because it's not a stream, but he probably checks Kennen's auto stacks. Because unless Kennen's really smart, he's most likely going to have autoed the blue without using his stack. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wow, that's really smart by Kennen. He actually used his passive precisely to make sure Renekton couldn't choose or couldn't tell that Rek'Sai started top. But I mean, it's pretty likely that he... Oh wait, did he lose HP though? No, okay, he didn't lose HP. So yeah, that's actually really smart by Kennen. So again, Smeb realizes here that he's under no pressure by Rek'Sai. Like, if Rek'Sai comes right now, again, he's got a big minion advantage already. Because he just walked up and, like, queued the fuck out of the wave really early, right? So he just walks up here. And there's not a whole lot Kennen can do, so now he's just slow pushed him super hard. So that 4 caster minion advantage, plus the cannon wave coming, is just going to mean that it's really hard for the Kennen to do anything right here. So again, let's see what he does with it here. Kennen's just frantically trying to make sure that he can get the lane pushed out a little bit, because if the minion advantage stays like this, until Rek'Sai comes, you know, there's very little that he can do. So I don't know, that was pretty bad by Kennen, just letting Renekton punish him really hard. So again, okay, now he's slow pushed it in. There's a cannon and I think 3 casters or something. We're under the tower, maybe melees. And he realizes, you know, he can just walk mid. He probably knows that Rek'Sai is going to be around mid by now. Rek'Sai 6 CS, so what did he do? I guess, yeah, blue wolves. And then where does 2 CS come from? Oh, I guess he started Raptors and then didn't finish. So yeah, he's instantly looking for a roam on mid. Because he sees, you know, pre-6, Kennen or Echo is actually relatively okay to gank, especially if, like, he's already committed, where it looked like he would be because of Rek'Sai being with Syndra there. So he's already created a couple opportunities for himself to, you know, basically get free harass on Kennen and then potentially set up a roam mid. So this is just a couple of examples that can help you really think about what you're going to do with the wave early game and how you can abuse it in certain matchups if you've got the push advantage. So even here, you know, where Renekton, essentially he has to still eat a fair bit of poke in order for him to push the wave level 1. He goes for it, and in the end it works out. So yeah, I hope that can help you to, you know, when you're looking at your replays or when you're looking at VODs and you want to really understand why people make decisions as to what they do with their lane. This is kind of the way that you want to analyze it. And I could make another video going more in depth on really looking at all the variables, and it would be probably kind of boring but beneficial if you're a really serious player. But yeah, that's it for this video, and I hope it helps you.